Hello friends, welcome to edu.net tutorial. In this video, we will see how to form the custom query, and with this we will conclude this typed dataset subseries. So first we learned what is loosely typed dataset. Then we talked about strongly typed dataset, and by this time you have the idea of what is a strongly typed dataset because we saw multiple examples. So now you know what this example will do. Generating strongly typed dataset, then we started with the jobs table, right? After that we saw how to populate the typed data table. Then we looked into fetching a specific row by the key column. After that we started into the DML operation, like inserting a typed row, editing a typed row, deleting a typed row. Then we saw how to do a static binding, listen time binding. After that we saw how to traverse the data relation in terms of typed data objects. Now let's see how to build custom queries, and we will proceed with the demo now. Now we will create one more data set. For that we will click on add new item, and we will pick data set here, and we will name our data set as book types, and we will click add here. Now we need some objects, right? So we will expand our server explorer. We will drag and drop titles here, and we will invoke the properties, or we should have named here itself. Double clicking will allow us to rename, so we can state book types, or you can invoke the property and set name as book types. Let us delete all the field except the type. Right click and choose delete. So now you see our titles table shows only the book types. So the book titles are repeating, right? With the custom query we will modify that. Now we will click this book types table adapter, and right click the header here and choose add query. Here we are adding the custom query. We will choose the default use SQL statement. There are other options also, but here we are using use SQL statements. Click next, then select which returns row. So what type of SQL query would you like to use? So select which returns row. That's the query we want to use. Here we will use the distinct, right? We can check this once in the SQL server. DINCT, distinct. So here it displays the book types. We will copy this and paste it here. Now we can click next. If you see, fill a data table, return a data table. So fill by book types. We are just modifying the method name. So get data by book types. Right, that's all here. Now we can click finish. So now if you look at the book types table adapter, it has fill and get data. That's the default, and these two methods are added by us. So we call this as custom query, right? Custom SQL query. Fill by book types. This will give a book returned by applying the distinct keyword. Now we will drag and drop one more title table, and if you see, our data set is book types. That data set is containing two data tables. One is book types and another one is titles. Now we will form a custom query for this titles table as well. As usual, we will choose use select statements. Select statement which returns rows, and here we will put a where condition where type equal to @type. So we are giving the runtime parameter, or the making it as a parameterized query. We'll click next, and here we can give fill by type, get data by type, book type. Next, this one, and click finish. Now we have two custom queries. One is for book types data table, and another one is for titles data table. The idea here is we will pick a book type here and we will supply that to our title table so that we can display all the titles that belongs to a specific book type. Now we will save all, rebuild this once, and add a new Windows form for our project. And we will name this form as titles by type. We will add it, and here in the font, let me choose Verdana 10. Okay, from toolbox we will place a label here, and we will place one more label, and here we name it as book types, and this one is books or titles. Let's place book type here, and books, let it be here, and we will place two list boxes. Here we are simply displaying the book type, and then so we need to clear that method which is accidentally gone into the code, rebuild. There will be an entry in the boilerplate code. We need to remove that as well. Right, label to click. Alright, now let's go back and put one more list box. Alright, now we will go to our parent form ex01 and we will launch this new form as a dialog from here. Alright, now we will go to our titles by type form and go to view code and include the required namespaces. Right, 8008 typed dataset book types table adapter. Right, that's what we created, right? Book types we created and book types table adapter. That namespace also we are including it here. So during the form load, let's double click here to have the event handler for form load. So in the form load, what we are doing, LST book types, we haven't yet named this. Here we will name it as LST book types and we will name this as LST books. So now if you see from book types table adapter, right, we create a book type table adapter. We have the table adapter. From there we get the book type and if you see get data by book type. So this is our custom query method and if you go to the XSD book types XSD, you can see get data by book types, right? So this is the method we are calling here, get data by book types. So what it will give us the data table book types data table and we know that it will run the distinct query and the query result will be placed into the data books type data table and we are referencing that as a book types. Next to our first list box display member, we are keeping it as type. Value member also we are keeping it as types. Why? Because we need to retrieve types book type for both display as well as value. That's why we are setting type for both display member and value member. Finally, to the data source, we are giving our book types data table. Book types we are assigning it here. Now let's rebuild this solution and see the distinct book types are displayed. Right, now we display distinct book types here in our first list box. Next, we need to handle the selection change event for the book types. Right, selected index changed, and here we will get the book type, right? LST book types dot selected value member is type, so it will give the selected type, and we are referencing that as a book type. Next, get all book of specific type using the custom query. Right here, this time we need to use get data by type, and that takes it's a parameterized query. We need to supply type that will go here as a argument to this get data by type method. So we know that this will run a custom query, and if you want to see, let me double undo this change. Configure, and if you see here we have the parameterized, right? So we are selecting titles data from titles table where type equal to @type. So that's why that is given here as a parameter to our custom query. All right. Now let's go to the code. Here we are creating the titles table adapter. Previously we created book types table adapter, right? Book types table adapter. That's how we named our first data table, right? Now here we have titles table adapter to retrieve titles data table, right? From that we can retrieve this titles data table, right? So here adapter dot get data by type, and if you see here we are passing the book type which we already retrieved from our previous list box, or list box that displays the book types. So we are passing that book type to our custom query method, right? And it will substitute this type to the where condition and retrieves the specific books, and that we have it as a data table. Since the filtered data is available in the data table, now we can bind these books to our LST books, the second list box data source. Before that, we are setting the display member as well as value member, and the second list box will be rebind whenever user changes the selection of book in the first list box. All right, now we will rebuild the solution and run it. So here if you see, there is one book on this type. Traditional cooking, there are 3 books available, and business, there are 4 books available. So here we are making use of the custom query, and in our type dataset we formulated 2 custom query. One custom query here will display the distinct book type. The second custom query takes a parameter for the query, or we can state we created a parameterized query, and that parameter we are substituting it from the first selection, right? The moment we create the parameterized query, you can see how the IDE is offering that as a parameter for the method. So it exposes the method and takes our parameterized query value as the parameter here, right? So that when we are using this method, we can supply the value for the query parameter. That's all here. We are ending this sub-series, and we completed our example. So this concludes this sub-series. Thank you for watching. Bye.